All right, so today we're going to talk about hypotheses, what they are, and how to make one. A general hypothesis is, something that you guys have probably heard of that says, oh, an educated guess. That's a very middle school, lower level kind of definition. A better form of definition for hypothesis is a testable explanation for something you see, right? And the key word here is testable because that's what we do in science. A hypothesis will kind of get a scientist started when they set up an experiment and have them kind of have a direction in which they're going um, to start out the experiment. For this class, general freshman biology, there's a few characteristics I want you guys to have in order to properly create a hypothesis. One of those has to be in an if-then format. If I do this, then something will happen. Okay, it's got to be short. Scientific writings, not English writing. Very short, sweet, to the point. And then obviously has to be testable. Again, kind of a central theme here in science. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at some examples and kind of work through some. Right, I'm going to go ahead and put this here just as our reminder for what all hypotheses must have. Right, so sometimes I'm going to give you guys statements in which you have to take a statement and convert it into a correct hypothesis format. Right, so let's take a look at number one. It says, can eating vegetables each day cause a person to have more energy? Right, so the first thing I always want to start off with is if. Okay, so if I do this, right, what can I change about the situation? I can change about how many vegetables I'm eating. Right, so if I eat vegetables every day, then what are we measuring, right? I'm having something to do with energy. Then I will have more energy, right? All right, kind of make this small, make it fit in the screen here, right? It's important to note that in a general hypothesis, you'll have if, right? So if independent variable, if I change something, then here's what I'm measuring. Then this is going to occur, right? So looking at our first example, if I eat vegetables, something to do with the amount of vegetables, that's going to be my independent variable. Then dependent variable. Then something about more or less energy, that's going to be what I'm measuring. Looking at number 3 as an example, statement is, do batteries last longer if kept in the refrigerator? Right, so turning this into a hypothesis, right? If then, short testable. Right, so you kind of look at what's changing, right? So what's my independent variable? My independent variable is going to be something that I'm changing, right? So I can change whether they're kept in the fridge or not. What I'm going to be measuring about the batteries is how long they last, right? So kind of putting it into a correct sentence might look something like, if I put batteries into the fridge, then what's going to happen? What do I expect? Right? I would expect, based on the statement given, then the batteries will last longer. Right, something like that. And actually, it's important to recognize that you can actually go in reverse here. You could actually say that if I do not put the batteries in the fridge, then the batteries will die faster. Both those two statements say the exact same thing. They just kind of flipped, and neither one is more correct than the other. Okay. What I have listed here is that sometimes, because hypotheses are generally predictions, is sometimes they allow you to actually make a prediction, right? So it says sometimes when writing a hypothesis, you have to use your own prediction. Right, so number 4 here is set up a little bit different than in the past, right? So it says, which type of bat, aluminum or wood, allows a person to hit the ball a longer distance? Again, going into experiment, you might not know what the actual result is going to be, so it's okay to make an assumption, right? So for me, I would think that aluminum bats are going to hit the ball farther. Okay, going back to our correct formatting, right? I have to be in the if independent variable, then this will happen. So scrolling back down to number 4, right? So if I say that my aluminum bat is going to work, let's work with that. If I use an aluminum bat, then what? What am I measuring about this situation? What's my dependent variable? My dependent variable is something about the ball and the distance that it's hit, right? So if I change, right, if I use aluminum bat, then my ball will go farther. And again, phrasing here is important because it can be a few different things. This part right here might say, then I can hit the ball farther. That's also fine, right? So there's a lot of different ways to say this um, hypotheses. What you don't want to say is you don't want to say, I think this will happen, right? You don't want to do that. So let's go ahead and do just one more. Right, let's do number 8. Okay. 1, mop the floor with Mr. Clean to see if it cleaned better than Dawn dish soap. Okay, and again, if we look at our independent variable, okay, what's going to be changing here? The thing that's changing is the type of cleaner. If I look at my dependent variable, what I'm measuring, I'm going to say the level of clean, right? I'm not sure if this is a word, but we're going to use it. So the cleanness, right? So my hypothesis has to have something along the lines of both of these, right? So if I go back and say if, right? So if Juan, what is he changing, right? So the statement says if he uses Mr. Clean. So let's kind of go with that. If Juan uses Mr. Clean, then what are we measuring? Then what do I expect? Then the floor will be cleaner or more clean, or however you'd properly say that. It's important to recognize that I'm very much aware that we are in freshman biology. So there's a few different ways when you get into upper level of science that you can actually make a hypothesis. However, for now, what I want us in my classroom, Mr. Coward's classroom, using is this. Okay, short, sweet, to the point. If I do this, if independent variable, then dependent variable.